What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all the supporters who's watching the videos entirely, man. Commented down below. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Videos that seem innocent but have a terrifying backstory, Part 4. This video shows comic magician Tommy Cooper having a heart attack on live TV. His audience, along with the assistant, thought it was all part of the show, so they laughed along while he died on stage. This video shows a Russian influencer's birthday party where she decided to throw dry ice into her swimming pool for the visual effect. Sadly, 3 people died due to carbon dioxide poisoning. The following video is what happens when you take 2 AI cleverbots and hook them up to one another to have a conversation. It's funny at first, but it soon becomes quite disturbing.
Hi.
How are you?
Great. You?
I'm okay.
That's good.
Are you good?
Do you believe in God?
Yes, I do.
So you're Christian?
No, I am not.
But you say you were not helpful, therefore you're a meanie.
How you say idioty?
That does not make sense.
Don't you want to have a body?
Morbid Facts, Part 668. In 2019, Daniela Lace left a Marilyn Manson concert in Ontario while heavily intoxicated and drove the wrong way down a residential street, crashing into a home and rupturing a gas line. 15 minutes later, the house exploded, destroying 4 homes, injuring 7 people including first responders, and causing an estimated $10 to $15 million in damage. Lace was sentenced to 3 years in prison after pleading guilty to impaired driving causing bodily harm. In a bizarre twist, she and her father later sued the concert venue's alcohol vendor, claiming they were responsible for overseeing her and allowing her to drive drunk. The Bodies exhibit, which displays real human cadavers preserved through plastination, has long been shrouded in controversy due to allegations that many of the bodies were sourced from Chinese prisons without consent. Human rights groups believe that some of the corpses may belong to executed prisoners or political dissidents, including members of persecuted groups like Falun Gong. In 2008, the exhibit's parent company was forced to admit that it couldn't verify the origins of the bodies, posting a disclaimer that some remains may have come from Chinese prisoners. Visitors may unknowingly be viewing the dissected bodies of people who died under horrific conditions.
This pregnant woman was murdered and cut open by her friend. On October 9th, 2020, 29-year-old Taylor Parker was pulled over for speeding as she made her way home in Texas. Police noticed that there was a newborn baby in the passenger seat of her car, and when asked, Taylor said that she had just given birth. The officer quickly responded and got Taylor and the newborn baby medical attention, but when Taylor arrived to the hospital, she refused to get checked and the baby was pronounced dead. Not long after, police were called to 21-year-old Regan Hancock's home where she was face down and deceased. Regan's mother actually found her with her skull crushed, she was stabbed 100 times, and the most disturbing part was that her stomach was cut open and her baby was gone. After investigating, police arrested Taylor Parker for this heinous crime. Investigators later realized that Taylor and Regan were friends, and Taylor was very involved in Regan's pregnancy, even to the point that she photographed her maternity shoot. Taylor also faked her pregnancy for 9 months. She threw a gender reveal for her fake baby, she faked her due date, and she found out when Regan's due date was, and she made sure to murder her on that same day. It's been said that her motive was to save her relationship with her boyfriend by having a child, and since she couldn't have any more kids, she murdered her friend and tried to take her baby and pretend like it's hers. Taylor was sentenced to death and is now at the state prison in Gatesville, Texas.
That sounds like a freaking
I'm the bad guy.
What were the dogs? We didn't even get to see them.
Photos with disturbing stories. Photo an abandoned building. They were not alone.
It was that.
The attic of the house.
I don't need a lot. Coffee's only a dime.
There was someone who doesn't live there.
Ghost.
She was cooked by her crush and was served with potatoes. This is the disturbing story of a beautiful young Russian girl by the name Katrina. She was into poem writing and heavy metal, but sadly in one of these concerts, she met someone that would change her life. She met a 19-year-old man by the name of Maxon in one of these heavy metal concerts. She ended up liking him so much she started developing a crush. Her mother, on the other hand, got suspicious weird vibes from this person and didn't want her daughter to be near him. But of course, she brushed it off and she continued to talk to this person. One day she lied to her mother and said that she was gonna go stay over at a friend's house to study for a project. Her mother was hesitant, however she insisted and she was able to go. She ended up lying to her mother to go to Maxim's apartment and meet up with other friends. These three individuals referred to her as fresh meat. When she arrived there, they drowned her and started eating her. One of the roommates claimed to have heard noise but didn't think much of it. When she came back from work the next day, her roommates served her some potatoes with beef. Of course, she didn't think anything suspicious because they're her roommates. Little did she know that the meat, wasn't really animal meat. The meat belonged to Katrina, who they've had chopped, dismembered, and eaten. They cooked her with onions and spices in the oven. When they were interrogated, they said they ate her because they were drunk and hungry. The people in the courtroom were horrified and disgusted by the crime scene photos. They were charged for the murder of Katrina. What do we think about this disturbing case?
I don't know if I can visit Mexico.
Why?
Bro, they have the scariest urban legends.
For real?
Yeah, they got La Chuza, which is a shape-shifting witch that looks like an owl and is 7 feet tall with the face of a woman. And you're not supposed to go outside if you hear whistling in your window.
What else?
Oh, and La Llorona. She usually stays near bodies of water. She wears a white gown, long hair, and she's always crying for her children that she actually drowned. So you're next if you see her while driving on the side of the road.
Oh my god.
There's like this abandoned Disney park in Veracruz, Mexico.
What about it?
It has a statue that moves at night. There was 2 people exploring the abandoned park and caught it on video. Fam, you gotta check this out.
No, aguanta, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien. Deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no es el velador. No digas perras mamadas, no digas mamadas. Güey, es que era el vestido también así, güey. Amarillo.
And it's static, frozen. I'm good on Mexico.
But they do have beautiful women.
You right, we might have to risk it.
Imagine going to your father's computer only to find hundreds of nude photos of yourself. That's exactly what happened to 39-year-old interior designer Jade Jenks. On December 31st, 2020, Jade was cleaning her stepfather's house when she found her own photos on his computer. Her stepfather, Tom Merriman, was at the doctor's when she found out, and she picked him up and then took his life. These nudes were taken about 10 years ago by her boyfriend at the time, and she has no idea how her stepfather got a hold of these photos. Prosecutors believe that Jade drugged Tom first and then she strangled him in her car after she picked him up from his appointment. She then tried to bring Tom into his house using a wheelchair, but he fell onto the driveway, and since she couldn't pick him back up, she just piled boxes on top of him to hide him from neighbors. Jade has maintained her innocence and says that she did not murder Tom and that she found him like that, but she panicked and that's why she never called for help. Although Jade does claim that growing up her stepfather was very inappropriate with her and she felt manipulated by him, but she never told anyone. Investigators did find a lot of evidence against Jade, and one of these things were that she texted 2 people telling them that she did murder Tom. Jade was eventually convicted of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 25 years.
She texted
Morbid Facts, Part 539. Children's entertainer and YouTuber Stephen John, aka Blippi, hasn't always been so family-friendly. He began his career as a gross-out video creator under the name Steezy Grossman, and would post shocking videos of himself performing grotesque acts across illicit websites. Most infamously, he performed the Harlem Shake in 2013 while standing unclothed on a toilet and defecated all over his unclothed friend. Despite Stephen's regret and extensive efforts to have the video removed from the internet, it can still be found rather easily. Don't try to find it. Please don't. Oh my god, why did I watch it? What the fuck, Blippi? In 2013, unemployed 30-year-old Princeton graduate Thomas Gilbert Jr. shot and killed his hedge fund manager father just hours after being told his $1,000 weekly allowance would be cut down to just $300. He was sentenced to at least 30 years in prison. A Japanese pilot who bombed a town in Oregon during World War II returned 20 years later to present his family's 400-year-old sword as a symbol of regret. His daughter said that if he had received a negative reaction, he would have used the sword.
Damn. The Harlem Shake video? I'm not looking that up.
So he takes his clothes off and starts doing this weird dance. I thought it was like a choreographed seizure, and right when she let her guard down, he jumped her, bit her in the back of the head. Only outcome was dead. Except it's not a man, but there's a predator that apparently packs out prey the exact same way. This right here is Stoat. If you think he's cute, you haven't seen what he'll do to a rabbit. The Stoat is the muscled little brother of badgers and wolverines, and they're a homicidal toddler tube sock with teeth. One that can murk animals 10 times their size by running them to death. But it's been reported that Stoats will hypnotize rabbits with a dance to confuse their prey into passiveness. They call it the Weasel War Dance, and the Stoat breakdances while two-stepping closer and closer until the end game is one less rabbit. Allegedly. We don't know for sure if that's what they're doing or how they even cooked it up, and I probably wouldn't believe it, but I can't put anything past a honey badger's blood. And it's not just Stoats. Apparently weasels of every kind will start weaseling out when they catch a body. And if you own a ferret, you've seen this first Slinky's dance, and it's usually after stealing something or catching a toy. It's like a pre-built predatory victory emote. They even make happy sounds while doing it, and of course there's a name for this sound. It's called duking. You should definitely look it up. Businesses duking it out is actually a lot cuter than you think. Also, rabbits really only exist by sheer numbers. Sometimes I wonder if they know they're alive. Although if Watership Down was basically my biopic, I'd be dissociated half the time too, the more you know.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your day. It is more likely than not that you are breathing incorrectly right now. This is what your face looks like if you're breathing through your nose. This is what your face looks like if you've been breathing through your mouth. Over time, mouth breathing actually changes the shape of your face to be more long and narrow with a less prominent jaw and retracted chin. Also, breathing too shallow will make you tired all the time because your muscles and brain are not getting enough oxygen. If you constantly feel like you can't think properly, this might be why. If you're worried about this, Breathwork is the app I've been using that actually shows you how to breathe properly. They actually walk you through different breaths for different reasons, like anxiety, stress, sleeping better, and more. Click the link in my profile to download the app.
I knew you could breathe wrong, bro. And the fact that your face can change if you're actually breathing wrong. I guess it shows you, man. I'm breathing right, bro.
This is the Russian lathe incident, one of the worst things ever recorded explained. The video that I'm about to explain to you has left many people traumatized, so whatever you do, don't go looking for it.
I won't.
The video is pretty short, coming in at 52 seconds in length, and it's not known where in Russia this took place. And it's a mystery to how this footage made its way onto the internet. As you play the video, you see a man walk towards the lathe machine, which he assumes is off. The man is wearing baggy clothes and some kind of jacket, and wearing loose clothing around a lathe machine is a no-no, since it can be sucked up into the machine, as this man found out. After the man approaches the machine, he seems to reach over it, but the rotating pole seems to get stuck on one of his sleeves, and it then drags the man into the machine. Initially, it doesn't kill the man. Instead, it traps his arm around the rotating pole, and the machine appears to have stopped. But after a couple seconds, the machine seems to start again, and this time dragging the poor man's entire body into the machine, rotating it around and around and around. As his limbs hit the ground after each rotation, you see red mist appear, and after a few more seconds, chunks of flesh and body parts start to fly off the machine. A man then walks into the shot, and he sees what's happening to his coworker. And with a look of shock, he quickly turns off the machine, but it was too late. His coworker's body has been completely torn apart into multiple pieces, and the machine is a bloody mess. There are a collection of still images from the aftermath of the incident which shows how unrecognizable the man's body is. In one photo, you see what appears to be a tibia with no flesh around it lying on the ground. And in another photo, you see the victim's severed and crushed head underneath the machine. It's absolutely disturbing and awful to look at. This video is hard to explain and hard to watch. It's extremely gruesome and disturbing, and I really don't recommend looking for it.
I never do.
Why are some people celebrating the death
of Hulk Hogan? Well, it's partly due to the insane coincidence of the date of his death. You see, Hogan happened to pass away on the 24th of July, which is the exact same day he was fired from the WWE 10 years ago for a racism scandal. See, that was the year that transcripts from a video were leaked in which he used the N-word multiple times and was quoted saying, "I guess we're all a little racist," when speaking about his daughter's black boyfriend. And just to make this coincidence even crazier, the day he got fired, he also tweeted this: "In the storm I release control. God and his universe will sail me to where he wants me to be." Exactly 10 years later to the date, he was found dead in his Florida home. And so partly because of how insane this coincidence is, the whole racism scandal is being brought to the forefront of the news headlines. But then there's the flip side of many people mourning his death and defending Hulk online. They're saying things like this is just being brought up to ruin his legacy, that he's apologized many times, and that this shouldn't take anything away from the positive impact that he had on wrestling and pop culture. But I guess the question is, what do you guys think?
In October...
See, because what do you guys think, man? When I just saw that happen, it was all trending on Twitter. People going back and forth. But that date was eerie. Can't lie to you about that. Down below, tell me your thoughts.
2002, Mark and his wife Kathy were on their way to a baby shower in Baltimore, Maryland. It would be a 7-hour drive from their home in Ohio, so Mark and Kathy tried to get out the door as early as possible, but one thing led to another and they got a pretty late start. By midnight, they were only about an hour away from their final destination, but they both desperately needed a bathroom break. And so they pulled into a rest stop in Frederick County, Maryland, which is about an hour outside of Washington, D.C. The rest area parking lot was completely vacant except for one car, which was a 4-door sedan that was parked head-in right in front of the bathroom. Mark and Kathy pulled into a spot that was a few over from the sedan. They got out, they walked up to the restroom. Mark was done first, so he waited outside of the women's restroom for his wife. As he waited, he turned around to face the sedan. He can clearly see there are 2 people in the front 2 seats. A middle-aged man who's sitting behind the steering wheel looking directly at Mark, and then next to this guy is a sleeping teenager. And immediately, Mark felt really creeped out by these 2 guys. Finally, his wife did come out. He grabbed her by the hand and without any explanation rushed them back to their car and began backing out. And as he did, he looked over at the sedan and he saw the guy behind the steering wheel was looking over at Mark with that same menacing look on his face. Mark also noticed there was something odd about the sedan's trunk. There was a fist-sized hole right above the license plate where you would normally put the key inside of. So the whole scene was just totally bizarre, and after Mark and Kathy sped out and were back on the highway, Mark explained to Kathy that there were actually 2 people inside of that sedan and they really creeped him out, and that's why he had grabbed her and rushed them back into the car. By the time the couple got to the baby shower in Baltimore, they had completely forgotten about their experience at the rest stop. About a week later, the couple was watching TV in their home when a breaking news bulletin came across, and it showed a reporter who was standing at the exact same rest stop that they had stopped in, and behind them was the same late model sedan that they had seen parked at that rest stop when they had pulled in. The headline of this special news bulletin was "DC Snipers Caught." It would turn out that middle-aged man sitting in the driver's seat of the sedan staring at Mark was none other than John Allen Muhammad, and the guy next to him, the teenager who was sleeping, was Lee Boyd Malvo. These were the 2 men that were responsible for the highly coordinated 3-week-long attack that left 10 people dead in the Washington, D.C. area. The fist-sized hole that Mark saw on the back of their trunk was what they used to shoot through because it allowed them to stay concealed in the trunk while they were shooting. Mohammed and Malvo had been using that particular rest stop in Frederick County as a place to hide out in between their killings. When Mark and Kathy pulled in next to them, they were only halfway through their killing spree. Mark believes the only reason he and his wife were not targeted is because the killers most likely were trying to keep this rest stop off the radar because it was their hiding spot, and so they wouldn't have risked an attack there. Although, ironically, they would ultimately be caught in that rest stop. Mohammed was executed by lethal injection in 2009, and Malvo is serving a life sentence.
Pulled into the freaking rest stop.
This man is about to become the first person in history to walk an unbroken path around the Earth. And after 27 years of walking, he's now on the final stretch. See, Carl Bushby started walking all the way back in 1988 from the very tip of South America in Chile. And he planned to walk all the way back home to the UK without breaking the mission's only 2 rules. 1, he can't use any form of transport to advance, and 2, he can't go home until he arrives on foot. But how bro hasn't died yet along the way is nothing short of a miracle, because he has somehow made it through the big 3. The first is the Darien Gap, which is a remote, roadless space of jungle between Colombia and Panama, and is commonly known as the most dangerous stretch of jungle in the world. Not only because it's filled with deadly animals, swamps, smugglers, and gangs, but also because while he was walking through, Colombia was an active war zone, and at one point he even said that he had to sneak through front lines as there was fighting. The next time he should have died is when he attempted to become the first person in modern history to walk on foot from America to Russia on a frozen ice bridge called the Bering Strait. It took him 14 days of walking and swimming through freezing temperatures, and at one point he even got swept 52 miles north, because remember, this gap is not frozen solid, so the ice still moves around with the wind. Despite this, he still somehow doesn't die, and he makes it through to the other side. Once in Russia though, they arrested him for multiple weeks, and they actually wanted to give him 5 years in prison. Now luckily he managed to get himself released, but things weren't cruisy from there, because right when he started to make his way through Asia, the Siberia, Mongolia, China, the 2008 financial crisis hit, and he lost a bunch of key sponsors that he was relying on financially. Things got so rough during this period that he said there were days where he would go without food. But it was when he made it to the edge of Asia where he would face his biggest challenge yet, the Caspian Sea. Problem is, if he wanted to walk over it, he would have to enter Russia, and if he wanted to walk below it, he would have to enter Iran. Neither were good options. In fact, he spent over a year in Turkmenistan just trying to figure out a way to proceed, and once he realized the only way to advance was to swim across, Plan Crazy turned into Plan Reality. For the next 31 days, he swam over 300 kilometers across the Caspian Sea, becoming the first person ever to do so. And that's despite him saying that he is a terrible swimmer and he hates it. Once over that hurdle, he then continued across Azerbaijan, Turkey, and then just 2 months ago, now in 2025, he officially entered Europe, the last continent and the home stretch in his nearly 3-decade journey. This man has walked through wars, pandemics, the invention of the smartphone, the launch of the freaking International Space Station. Bro has missed everything. He has been walking so long that his final destination is where he left from, his mother's house. In fact, he is expected to arrive a few months after GTA 6 releases. Nothing comes after GTA 6. If they don't make a movie out of this man's life, I'ma be pissed.
They have to. Why is she looking at us like that, Seekers? How did she fit there?
Didn't know that one day could save your life. Part 9. Condoms are useful for a number of reasons, but if you need a quick way to store liquid, they can actually hold up to a gallon of water, plus they're waterproof, so you can safely store things like matches, electronics, and pretty much anything that shouldn't get wet. If you ever find yourself being dragged underwater by an alligator, shove your fingers into its nose. This breaks the seal alligators need to keep water out of their airways and will make them release you immediately. Each railroad crossing has a number on it. So if your car ever gets stuck on a train track, call 911, give them this number, and they'll notify the oncoming trains to stop. Truck drivers often receive information about dangerous weather, hazards, and accidents before other drivers do, so if you ever see one pulled over or driving differently, it may be a sign that danger is ahead.
Let's talk about the Wendigo.
Store those
the Wendigo
facts.
is said to be a supernatural evil being in North America. They have a hunger that can't be satisfied, so they eat whatever and whoever they want. And just like skinwalkers, they can imitate hurt humans in need of help in order to get you to come to their rescue.
Whoa. Wendigo sighting?
Sounds like he was eating some spicy booty. Clearly they don't do a good job at imitating us. Some people even have videos of them in the forest.
He said deuces.
I got something screaming down there. I don't know what this is, man. Something screaming down there, man.
Just
Hello?
stop.
Wendigo, more like when to go, because that's exactly how I scream in the bathroom after eating Taco Bell. Oh, brother, this guy stinks! And look at this video of one in a cave.
That might be an edit. Might have to call cap on that.
There's 3 ways to defeat them. Setting them on fire, stabbing it through the heart with a silver knife or bullet. Or just not go near one if you hear them screaming. Stay home! There is nothing good outside.
Things you never knew the purpose of.
He was spitting.
Small buttons on jeans are called rivets, and they're placed in the places with the most wear and tear to prevent your pants from ripping. The tiny pocket on jeans is supposed to hold a pocket watch. It's a design from the 1800s.
Whoa.
The bottom line of a solo cup is roughly about 1 shot. The second line is for wine, and the third line is for beer. The neck shape of a beer bottle is designed to incentivize you to hold it from there so that you don't warm your beer before you finish it. These static wicks on an airplane exist in order to reduce the chances of the plane being struck by lightning. The arrow on the gas gauge for your car points in the direction of which side the gas tank is on your car. These orange balls only exist to help make power lines more visible to low-flying aircraft. The dimpled ridges on a golf ball help reduce the drag when it's flying through the air, making it go further and faster.
The more you know, man. We learning.
Embarrassingly dumb ways people passed away. Part 4. In 1997, a 25-year-old Brazilian cyclist named Marcelo was riding his bike through an airfield in Sao Paulo while listening to music. Not paying attention to his surroundings, he ended up coming into contact with the propeller of a landing plane, ending his life immediately and damaging the wings and blades of the plane. Next, in 2008, a biology teacher from Bulgaria was driving with 2 friends and decided to randomly pull over and begin dumping leftover jars of chemicals into a manhole. These chemicals included highly flammable liquids, and when they came in contact with the sewage, they caused a powerful explosion that sent the manhole cover flying, decapitating the teacher. In 1999 in Cambodia, 3 friends were at a bar drinking. They began arguing until one of them got out of their seats and pulled out a 25-year-old anti-tank mine that he found in his backyard. He then set it under the table and came up with the idea to drink while stomping on the mine. Everyone in the restaurant evacuated quickly minutes before one of the men accidentally set the mine off. And in 2016, a pastor from Zimbabwe made a promise to walk into a river and then rise above the water, and this excited many of his followers. After fasting for a week, he went to fulfill his promise at Crocodile River, only to be devoured by crocodiles before he could even attempt to perform this miracle.
Why would he, if he's gonna try to walk on water, why would he do it at a crocodile river? The name is literally in the Crocodile River. That's the place you wanted to test it out at. People, man, they do some of the most bizarre things. You really just can't explain it.
This is why you shouldn't drink tap water.
I don't drink tap. You have to stay away from that. What we about to see, bro? No. What the hell is that? Organisms, man, our eyes are so small that we can't even see.
We're always told to drink a lot of water throughout the day, but have you ever wondered what happens when you drink too much water? Well, 35-year-old Ashley Summers drank 64 ounces of water in a span of 20 minutes and passed away from water toxicity. Ashley, her husband, and 2 daughters were at Lake Freeman in Indiana when she began feeling dehydrated. So she drank 4 bottles of water because for some reason she wasn't able to quench her thirst. Ashley complained about having a horrible headache and she began to feel lightheaded. When she got home with her family, she passed out in the garage and she was taken to the hospital where the doctor said she had brain swelling. Ashley never woke up and she was pronounced dead from water toxicity. A toxicologist said that this is more likely to happen to someone who's extremely dehydrated, which will cause them to drink too much water and not enough sodium or electrolytes. So remember, bring more than just water on really hot days, especially if you're under the sun for a long period of time.
This 98-year-old
Man, what the hell? She too much water. That's like one of the first times I've ever heard something like that, man. I guess when you get, like you said, when you get dehydrated, you gotta bring something other than water, because if you just down a whole bunch of water, I guess your system can't take it all in, especially when you're dehydrated. So keep that in mind.
Old woman had her life ended in a snuff film. Margaret Douglas was a woman who lived in Ohio, and even at 98 years old, she lived by herself and was described by her family as being fiercely independent and healthy. Margaret told her family that the thing she was most excited about was being able to reach the age of 100 in just 2 short years, but sadly, her life would be brutally ended before she got to that point. In April of 2018, Margaret's partially nude body would be found stuffed inside of her bedroom closet, having been strangled to death. Margaret's 17-year-old neighbor, Gavin Ramsey, would eventually be brought in for questioning after several concerning videos and photos were found on his cell phone. The videos depict Gavin breaking into Margaret's home and then filming her while she slept on the couch for several minutes. After several minutes of watching her sleep, Gavin would jump on top of Margaret and proceed to strangle her to death. Afterwards, the video and photos would depict Gavin masturbating over top of Margaret's dead body before using her hands to masturbate himself. When asked why he did it, Gavin simply stated that he wanted to know what it felt like to take another human's life. He was quickly found guilty and is currently serving life in prison.
By the end of this video, you're not going to be able to look at this photo the same way. This photo looks completely innocent, a middle-aged man reading to a bunch of kids. But this man is Paul Schaefer, and he's the leader of one of the worst cults you've probably never heard of. Paul was a Nazi during World War II, and after the war, he fled to Chile to basically start his own prison camp. I talk about it more in this week's podcast episode, but he brought a bunch of other Germans to Chile under the guise of "let's escape Germany." But once they were all there and he had them in the middle of nowhere, he started subjecting them to torture. And unfortunately, no one got it worse than the children in the camp. Upon arrival, kids were stripped from their parents, told they no longer had parents, and were beaten if they tried to talk to them. Pal also started a hospital in the area which was just a way for him to abduct local Chilean boys. If a young boy went in for a checkup, he would have the nurses sign adoption paperwork and he wouldn't return the boys to their families. And this is all because Powell was an abuser of the worst kind, and he did all this to create a society where he basically had unfettered access to young boys. And eventually, he turned his cult into a death camp. There are over 600 people who went missing at this camp, and most of them are local Chileans. Anyways, this whole story is so wild, and I encourage you to listen to the whole thing in this week's episode.
Sounds like a wild episode, man. Signing over kid.
Weird War Facts, Part 5. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, the U.S. government issued Mickey Mouse gas masks in case of a chemical attack. The incentive was to make them appear less scary to kids, but most people don't think it worked. An atomic bomb cameraman accidentally ripped off his safety goggles a few seconds before the bomb exploded. He immediately covered his eyes with his hands, and when the bomb detonated, he saw the bones of his hands through his closed eyelids just like an X-ray. When the Soviet Union was pushing towards Berlin during World War II, a Nazi SS soldier was forced to play piano for his captors. They made it clear to him in sign language that he would be executed the moment he stopped playing. He played for 22 straight hours, after which he collapsed in tears. They congratulated him.
This baby was found after being missing for 51 years, y'all. This baby's name was baby Melissa, and she went missing when she was 21 months old. And her parents needed to find a babysitter so that they can go to work and be able to make money. Now, this happened back in 1971. Like I said, she was 21 months old. And her mother looked in the newspaper for a babysitter, and she found one. Now, this babysitter allegedly got baby Melissa, and after her mom got off work, she was gone. And she has been missing for 51 years. 51 years. And she gave her a whole new name, a whole new identity. It raised her under the pretenses that she was her child, instead of telling her her real identity. Fast forward 51 years later, she has been found, and I mean, obviously her birth parents are no longer living, but the fact that she has been found after that long is absolutely fascinating and really tells you how a lot of these missing persons cases that they might still be alive.
Here's the most unsolved mysteries with the most chilling phone call, part 1. Trigger warning, all of these stories you're about to see are real and documented, and every single one of these are still unsolved to this day. For our first story tonight, there's this young girl named Antoinette. On April 6, 1986, her and her sister were up at 3 a.m. at the house. At just 9 years old, they heard a knock on the door. She said, "Who is it?" And this man said, "Uncle Joe, please let me in, it's cold out here." According to her sister's reports, as soon as Antoinette opened the door, 2 men grabbed her and put her in a brown van. Here's where everything gets super creepy. Her sister said that she kicked and screamed all the way to the van. 1 year later, the police received this phone call, and what you're about to hear literally gives me chills.
Whoa.
And this is why you should never kiss a baby on the lips.
This is a result of somebody kissing her on the mouth. When parents say not to kiss their children, this is one of the reasons.
This is a recent photo of 8-year-old Brie Lynn. She was born healthy, but as a baby, she was kissed on the lips by someone who had a cold sore, and her life changed forever. So after this happened, she began having seizures and became extremely sick. And since as a baby, your immune system is not developed, the HSV infection attacked her brain and left her with a severe brain injury. Her mother explains that the left side of her brain is 60% damaged and the right side is 10% damaged. And because of this, Brie Lynn has never been able to walk or talk, and doctors don't even know how long she'll live. There was actually another child in the past who had the same thing happen to them, and they only lived until the age of 7. And here's the thing, many people can argue that they've kissed their baby and nothing like this has ever happened, but this is still very possible, especially if you have a contagious virus in your system. I mean, just to be safe, we should all avoid doing this.
Yeah, man. I mean, don't let random strangers. I guess I don't know if the person was random, but even I guess random friends don't even try to freaking kiss the baby because, like she said, the baby's immune system that's new, so they can't fend off diseases like we can. You may just think it's all sweet and innocent, but if a person tells you, man, don't kiss the baby, just as the baby, just follow what they're saying, man, because you never know what could happen. That's gonna make me way more cautious now. That's an edit. Call them out,
really
man.
Weird human body facts that I can guarantee you didn't know. Your penis has rifling. That's why the stream twists. Girls who are born at altitude reach puberty a lot faster than girls born at sea level. In some cases of brain surgery, they peel your face forward like a banana peel.
Wow, really?
Remember the Old Navy supermannequins? They were mannequins that Old Navy came out with in 2008 during the recession. Mannequins had their own personalities and even relationships with each other. And they were to be treated like celebrities, and they even had social media profiles. Supermannequins commercials were extremely fleshed out, and there was even drama between the mannequins. Like, they would gang up on each other. There was a little bit of like a Mean Girls thing going on. The commercials for this campaign were like little short films about their lives. There was also a dog. There was even a Supermodelkin Super Search, which was a contest for someone to be the new identity basis for a Supermodelkin. Maggie won, and they literally turned her into a Supermodelkin. In 2011, the Supermodelkins retired in order to make way for Old Navy's new campaign. It was the Old Navy Records campaign and was in partnership with Shazam.
Crazy facts about things in our world. Mohammed is the most popular name worldwide. A teaspoon of a neutron star weighs 10 million tons. The Great Wall of China takes 18 months to walk. The human body is made up of 60% water.
Damn, so we water beings, man. What the hell?
Facts that will blow your mind. Humans are the only animals that enjoy spicy foods. Potato chips cause more weight gain than any other food.
Wow.
It's impossible to hum while you hold your nose. The least interesting day in history was April 11th, 1954. Aldous Huxley and C.S. Lewis died on the same day as JFK. Bigger forks lead you to eat less. The longest living insect is the termite. Chewing gum after a meal reduces heartburn. Dogs can smell cancer. Bees can detect bombs. Follow and comment below which fact blew your mind.
Dogs and bees.
Chilling paranormal encounters caught on camera.
Oh my fucking god, I swear to god, this thing just fucking looked at me. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god.
You saw that? It moved, but it was slow.
You okay? What the hell? What the fuck is going on here? There ain't nobody there. Miss? Hello?
Ooh. Who the hell was crying in that
The
car?
reason I had to move out of my flat. I was home alone.
I saw that. Definitely saw a fish right there or something. And caught all those encounters on camera. Those are brave souls.
These are the most amazing animals in the world. Part 1. The ogre-faced spider can be found in the forests of Australia and Africa, and it's known for having the largest eyes on any species of spider. Their eyes can also absorb 15,000 times more photons than humans. They're able to hear their surroundings from the tiny hairs on their legs, and use it to create one big and one smaller web between their legs, and attract their prey with their waist and snag it. Next, the Watusi is a species of cattle that originated back in ancient Egypt. The biggest characteristic that helps them stand out is their massive horns. These horns can grow up to 8 feet in length, and some of them may never stop growing. The Watusi with the largest recorded horns was in 2004, with horns measuring 40 inches in width. Damn. And these horns don't just look awesome, but they function as air conditioners for the animal, because they can control their body temperature and send it out the horns. And finally, the flatfish. Their flat bodies allow them to blend into the ocean floor to easily hide themselves from predators, as well as help them catch their own prey. They're also extremely fast swimmers thanks to their underfin, which gives them an extra boost. These fish also start like any regular fish, with both their eyes on each side of their face. But within a few weeks, one of its eyes slowly migrates its way onto the other side of the face, which makes them look like this.
Flatfish, okay.
This guy could probably hear his ancestors because that's how close he was to meeting them. Let me say, if you ever see this in the water, you need to swim away immediately. Because this, my friends, is a blue dragon, otherwise known as a Glaucus atlanticus. This thing is literally designed to catch a body and then sleep like a baby afterwards. If there's anything I've learned about nature, and it's a little trick, is to never associate yourself with anything blue. Poison dart frog, blue, will fold you like a lawn chair. The blue Malaysian coral snake will fast track you to the afterlife. The blue-ringed octopus, which will give you your own headline. And of course the blue dragon. However, it's not actually a dragon, it's a slug. So unless you wanted to say killed via a slug on your tombstone, don't do what this fool's doing. These animals are commonly found on European, African, and of course Australian coasts. These creatures will literally steal other animals' venom to use it for themselves. They also produce a sting more painful than the Portuguese man of war, feeling like hot knives on your skin. Oh, lovely. Now send this video to a friend so they know not to go near it. You could literally save their life.
Creepy last words people said
Don't touch
right
that
before
slug.
dying. A nursing assistant said that she was in a long-term patient's room changing the sheets. The patient would periodically look behind her. She asked the patient what was wrong, and the patient looked in her eyes and asked, "He doesn't scare you?" The nurse was confused, and she asked her who she was referring to, and the patient said, "The big man in the top hat. He's standing right behind you." She said that she doesn't think that she has ever finished changing a bed sheet and repositioning a patient as fast as she did that night. She refused to go into that room by herself for the rest of her shift. Linda Johnson, a former nurse, said that she had a gentleman in his late 90s who was dying. He started screaming blood-curdling screams, so they raced to his room. He was screaming that the room was on fire and that there was a man with large horns peering out of the flames. He kept pointing to one wall, saying that it was on fire. The nurses turned on the lights and tried to calm and console him, but to no avail. Instead of being consoled, Linda said that he told her that she was on fire and that he could see her being consumed by flames. Linda said that it was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to her. The doctor was notified, but nothing relieved the patient's terrifying hallucinations. He died soon after. Cynthia said that several years ago, her 20-year-old daughter had brain surgery. She got an infection of the spinal fluid. She was there in grave condition for a month. Cynthia never left her daughter's side. One night, the worst night at this point, she asked who the man in black was that was standing by the bathroom, and why Cynthia's deceased brother, the girl's uncle, was standing next to her at the side of the bed. Cynthia immediately got the chills. She told her daughter, "They're not here." Then she told her brother and the man in the black, whom she couldn't see, "You both have to go now. She's not ready to go, and I'm not ready to let her go." After that night, her daughter started to get better and better each day. Today, her daughter is doing well.
Thanks to a deathbed confession, a nearly 24-year-old cold case was closed this week when the bodies of a missing girl and her mother were found. 10-year-old Natasha Alex Carter and her mother Susan disappeared from their home in Beckley, West Virginia in August 2000. But at first, police initially reported that Alex may have been abducted by her mother. In a press release from December 2021 about the case, the FBI Pittsburgh said, quote, "At the time of their disappearance, Susan Carter and Alex's father were having a custody dispute, and Alex moved in with her mother and mother's new husband," which it's not confirmed that it was actually her mother's new husband, but they moved in, and then not long after that, Susan and Alex disappeared. But while it was initially suspected as a parental abduction by Susan, after the two remained missing, an investigation into other possibilities ensued, but unfortunately, the case went cold. In 2021, the FBI reopened the cold case and started looking into the man Susan and Alex were living with, Larry Webb. Searches of his home were done in 2022 and 2023, and they found a bullet embedded in the wall of what was Alex's bedroom. The bullet was tested for DNA, and it confirmed that blood on it belonged to Alex. In October 2023, Larry Webb was indicted on first-degree murder charges for Alex's death, despite Alex and Susan's bodies never being found. Due to his deteriorating health, though, Webb was not arrested until April 12, 2024, but since then he was being held without bond. On Monday, he had a medical episode, after which, in a, quote, come-to-Jesus moment on his deathbed, he confessed to authorities what he had done. Webb claimed that on August 8, 2000, he had gotten into an argument with Susan over money. He said he was missing some cash and believed that she had taken it and spent it. The argument escalated and he shot her, and then he ended up shooting Alex so there would be no witnesses. Webb then wrapped their bodies in bed linens and placed them in the basement that night. Over the next 2 nights, he dug a shallow grave in the woods on his property, eventually burying them in his clothes and then walking free for the next 20 years. On April 22, 2024, Larry Webb died at Mount Olive Correctional Complex, and 6 hours later, Susan and Alex's remains were found at his property in Beckley. Unfortunately, now that Webb is dead, he cannot be charged in connection to their deaths. At least now they have been found and can be properly laid to rest. Alex's father, Rick Lafferty, said after the discovery, quote, "It's kind of a sad day, but also a happy day because I can bring my baby home." Rest in peace, Alex and Susan.
January 2017, 5-year-old Ashley Zhao was beaten to death by her mother, 30-year-old Ming Ming. Ming Ming then reported Ashley missing and said that she went to take a nap in the family restaurant's back room, and when she came to check up on her that night, she was gone. But after police investigated, they found that no one saw Ashley leave the restaurant. The next day, police found Ashley's body lifeless in the family restaurant's back room. After interviewing Ashley's parents, Ming Ming admitted to hitting her daughter repeatedly in the head, and then she passed away. Apparently, she did this because Ashley was having accidents. After the beating, Ashley's father noticed that she was gasping for air and green fluid was coming out of her mouth, and then she stopped breathing. Ming Ming then ordered her husband to hide their daughter's body in the backroom restaurant. The couple basically carried on with the restaurant's hours of operation while their daughter laid lifeless in the back room. Ashley's father pleaded guilty and received 12 years in prison, and Ming Ming was sentenced to 22 years in prison.
Here's 5 things.
Mimi sound like she was possessed by the damn devil. That's something. That's like demonic behavior right there, bro. And y'all just moving on with the rest of your day acting like nothing happened. Just going back to just selling food at y'all restaurant. You gotta keep a close eye out, Seekers, man.
Things our parents lied to us about. Cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. This isn't true. The noise is caused by negative pressure temporarily pulling nitrogen gas into the joint. If you swallow gum, it will stay in your stomach for 7 years. This is not true. It will be excreted within a few days. Sitting too close to the TV will hurt your eyes. This is actually a very popular misconception. A long-term extensive study has shown that myopia in children has nothing to do with this. If you keep going cross-eyed, you'll get stuck like that forever. This is simply false. Your hair will grow faster the more often you cut it. This isn't true. There are a number of factors affecting it, such as age, hormones, and even the time of year.
Here are 3 terrifying animals that you're glad are extinct. Number 1, the Megalodon shark. This animal grew up to 60 feet long, and one tooth could be the size of a human. Megalodons were meat-eating creatures that could literally kill anything. Number 2, the Capra suchus. This animal is a crocodile T-Rex hybrid. It has long legs and is extremely fast. I can guarantee that you won't be able to outrun this guy. Number 3, the Titanoboa. This snake weighed about 2,000 pounds and grew up to 40 feet long. This snake would kill their prey with constriction, which means they would suffocate them to death.
This doesn't look like something out of Anaconda, bro. Like that one Ice Cube fought at the end. Glad those gone, man. I don't do snake seekers. I just can't do that. That's an edit. Spot them out.
Here's what would happen to you if you just stopped eating. In the first 6 hours, everything would be normal as your body breaks down food to provide energy for your brain. But after 6 hours, all that energy is used up. So you begin to starve, entering a state called ketosis, which is when your body uses excess fat to produce energy. After 72 hours, your body will begin breaking down muscle for energy, essentially eating itself. And after 1 to 2 weeks, you're more likely to die from the common cold than starvation.
Morbid Facts, Part 467. In 2013, double amputee and 4-time Paralympic gold medalist Oscar Pistorius shot his girlfriend 3 times through a locked bathroom door, claiming he mistook her for an intruder. During his murder trial, Pistorius removed his prosthetics and hobbled on his stumps, while apparently attempting to garner sympathy and a more lenient sentence. But the judge wasn't buying it and sentenced the athlete to 15 years in prison for murder. This is the skeleton of a female vampire pinned to the ground with a sickle across her throat to prevent her from returning from the dead. It was found during an archaeological dig at a 17th century cemetery in Poland. In the late 1800s, there is an urban legend about a demonic figure roaming around the Arizona deserts that killed multiple people. It turned out to be a feral camel with the decaying corpse of a male soldier strapped to its back. Likely the tragic result of Jefferson Davis's attempt to create a camel division in the U.S. Army.
The camel was eaten?
Here's why bees die after stinging you. When a bee stings you, it buries its barbed stinger deep into your skin. Then it releases a dose of venom filled with protein-rich substances that makes the sting painful. The venom also affects your skin cells and can also affect your immune system. But all of this comes at a huge cost to the bee. After inserting their barbed stinger into a person, they are unable to pull it out. The only way they can free themselves from the stinger is to rip their bodies apart, leaving the stinger behind. Unfortunately, the stinger also contains parts of the bee's muscles, nerves, and digestive tract. And without these vital body parts, the bees cannot survive and suffer a gory death.
So when that bee hits you like this, it's it, bro. It got its one good hit in, and then it's just like, hey, that's all I got. I'm out, bro. Wow. And the more you learn about these animals, these insects, truly changes the way you think, man. If you told me that as a kid, I wouldn't believe it.
This woman was married to a TikTok serial killer for 7 years, but now she's turning back to TikTok for help. You see, this is her ex, Kareem Salih, but before he became known as the New Cairo Butcher, he was a TikToker with over 600,000 followers teaching people American slang. But then, in May this year, he was arrested for the murder of multiple women in Egypt, and a few months later was found guilty and sentenced to death. This case was huge in Arab media due to how shocking the crimes were. Investigators found that he had soundproofed his apartment so that when he tortured his victims, no one would hear them scream. It was so gruesome that when videos which he would record himself were played in court, his entire defense team of 5 lawyers immediately withdrew from the case and apologized to the judge for ever representing him. And I'm skimming over this, but it's like Ray William Johnson next video kinda bad. Anyway, his ex-wife, who had a child with Kareem but had been separated for the past 3 years, claimed that she had to go into hiding and flee to the UK because he tried to kill her and her sister multiple times. But then just yesterday in a TikTok, she said that Kareem had taken her son and he's now with Kareem's mother either in Egypt or America. So she's desperately trying to raise awareness so she can find him and be reunited. And if you want more details, I've tagged her profile below.
Man, she was ready to a TikTok. If we can sit. Bro, I'm telling you, man, these social medias, bro, personalities, you never know what's behind them. How do you have a following that big and he was getting away with it for that long? Makes you look at the world differently.
Morbid Facts, Part 466. During an SAS training exercise in 1996, 21-year-old Bear Grylls broke his back after falling 16,000 feet when his parachute failed to open. His surgeon wasn't sure if Grylls would ever walk again, but the survival expert climbed Mount Everest just 18 months later, becoming the youngest Brit to ever do it. Here's a photo of 13-year-old Barbara Kent and her fellow campers playing in a New Mexico river, just hours before the first atomic bomb was tested 40 miles away from them. Over the next few days, the area was covered in fallout flakes that the campers thought was snow, only it was hot instead of cold. The US government had selected the site for its supposed isolation, but in reality, thousands of people were within a 40-mile radius and weren't evacuated nor warned before the test. Despite being diagnosed with 4 different types of cancers throughout her life, Barbara was the only girl in the above photo who lived past the age of 30, somehow making it to 83.
I never knew that fact about New Mexico. They didn't even evacuate.
You guys remember when this man attacked the judge after she gave him a sentencing that he wasn't too happy with? So before this happened, he was sentenced to 19 months to 4 years in prison. But after attacking the judge, he was just sentenced to 26 to 65 years in prison. But this video made me feel so uneasy because look at him. He looks like he wants to jump over there and attack the prosecutor. Then he explains himself and says that on that day when he attacked the judge, he just saw red.
Like, this is not fair. All I see was red, and all I heard her say, oh, this, she said, I finally watched the whole video. I was standing here in the courtroom with all of you guys.
These are the best.
The question to myself, how did he have hops that high that he did leapt that high and even got to the judge? That shouldn't have been possible. But look what happened, man. He said he saw red, and then he got 65 to 25 years instead of that lighter sentence before, man. Gotta think before you act, Seekers.
Best elf on the shelf pranks. These elves are ironing out the wrinkles in the chips. This elf is disguising the Brussels sprouts as chocolates. And this elf is doing target practice with a bottle of ketchup. At least his aim is kind of good. And this elf opened up his own car wash. And this elf managed to sneak his way up to the cookie jar. And this elf has a poop museum. But that's exactly what I expected the unicorn poop to look like. Make sure you don't have any of this freshly squeezed juice, because I don't think it's juice. They wrapped up the entire bathroom. How are you supposed to use that? And these elves are fishing in the sink. These elves know how to party. They're bungee jumping.
He was left in a tanning bed for 3 days until his body was discovered. On November 8th of this year, 39-year-old Derek Sink visited a Planet Fitness to sign up for a membership. He was accompanied by his girlfriend Heather and her daughter, but while he was signing up, they left to a nearby store. When they returned, Derek was gone. They noticed that Derek's car was still in the parking lot, but they believed that maybe he had left the gym. However, as the hours started to pass by with no sign of him, they started to get concerned. Derek's family finally reported him missing on November 10th. The next morning, Derek's probation officer had visited the gym, which was his last known location. He made a shocking discovery when they found his body inside of a tanning bed, and it was believed that he was there for 3 days. This discovery was made when a worker noticed a bad odor coming from the tanning area. As the investigation began, Derek was wearing an ankle monitor, and it revealed that he had never left the gym. Family members revealed that Derek struggled with addiction, and once his body was found, they found a needle in the tanning room with him. My biggest question is how the workers did not notice that his body was there for 3 days in that tanning bed. It really does not make sense.
Staying away from Planet Fitness, bro. They can't even check on if you can tan them in 3 days. What else are they doing to that equipment, man, that they're not checking out properly? 3 days, come on now. Staying out of that tanning room. That's a no for me.
These are the worst Christmas gifts of all time. Up first, we have this savage grandma. She sent her daughter a gift card, but it said, maybe next year you'll make us proud.
Ouch. And here's another grandma who put almost no effort into the gift. She sent her granddaughter a used notebook with scribbles inside. Next, this guy asked his dad for a GPS for the new car he bought that year. But instead, his dad gifted him a map. And this girl received a creepy porcelain doll from her grandma. And she's been terrified of it ever since and believes it's haunted, which I think it is.
Do you guys remember the two girls who recorded their murder before their bodies were found near a wooded area?
Trying to identify the suspect in this photo and this voice.
On February 2017, 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German were walking along Delphi Historic Trails, Indiana, when they snapped these photos right before they went missing that evening. Police suspected that the man in this photo was involved in their disappearance and murder, but they didn't know who this man was. The girls' bodies were found the next day very close to where they took those photos. And police received multiple tips that the man in the recording and photo on Liberty's phone was 50-year-old Richard Allen. Richard was arrested and charged, but he pleaded not guilty and kept his innocence. But recently, on April 3rd of this year, Richard called his wife Kathy and confessed to murdering both Abby and Liberty. Investigators believe that Richard forced the girls down a hill and took their life with a .40 caliber. Let's talk about what happened to Jacob
Finally
Randy,
admitted to
his
it.
killer is still out there. Jacob was born on July 1st, 1986 to his mother Brenda and to his father Gene in Texas. He had an older brother named Eric, and Eric was so excited about having a new baby brother. This is something that he really wanted for a long time, and the day that Jacob was born was just like the best day ever for everyone. Now their father Gene wasn't really in the picture. He was actually having an emotional affair with another woman, and when Brenda found out about that, she decided to leave him. She grabbed the two kids, she packed everything up, and they all moved to Socorro, New Mexico. Now, the reason they moved there is because that's where Brenda's family was, so she figured that they would be able to help watch the children while she went to work and, help provide for the family. Now, during this time, Brenda started to grow closer to an old family friend. Now, Eric asked that we do not use this man's name, so for the sake of the video, I'm just going to refer to him as Nick. Nick and Brenda pretty much grew up together. His sister actually married Brenda's brother, and his aunt was Eric's godmother. So in a way, they all had some type of connection, and when Nick entered their life, Eric was very happy about this. Nick was very kind to him. He would watch movies with Eric, he would take care of baby Jacob, and Eric just felt like this was the father figure that he had been looking for. He was just very charismatic, and in December of 1986, Brenda and Nick decided to move in together with the two children. Unfortunately, soon after Nick entered their lives, baby Jacob started to receive unexplained injuries. The first incident that happened is when Brenda noticed that Jacob had a skinned ear. So she took him to the doctor, and as they were trying to figure out what happened, Nick came over to Brenda and said that Eric was responsible for this injury. He said that Eric had picked up Jacob from his crib and then dropped him to the floor. That the reason he had done this is because Eric was jealous of his new baby brother. So Brenda goes over to Eric, she asks him about this, and she was able to get Eric to admit that yes, he did this. Now keep in mind that at this time, Jacob is only 6 to 7 months old, and Eric is 6 years old. So for a 6-year-old to reach over to a crib, pick up a baby, and then drop him to the ground, it just kind of seemed odd. But this is what Nick was telling Brenda. He was telling her that he had seen Eric be jealous before, and that this wasn't the first time that Eric had injured baby Jacob. The second injury occurred 2 to 3 weeks later. This is when the kid's grandmother, Merlinda, was taking care of baby Jacob and noticed a lump on his head. Took him to the doctor, and they told her that this injury came from a blow to the head and that Jacob had a hematoma, and that his injury needed to be drained and lanced immediately. This is a huge injury. This isn't something that's caused by just like playing around or getting a thump on the head. Once again, Nick blamed Eric for this injury, and he told Brenda that he saw Eric kick baby Jacob in the head. Eric says that he has no memory of actually kicking baby Jacob, but he just feels like that would not be possible. He was only 6 years old, so how could a kick from a 6-year-old cause such a big injury? Again, no one saw Eric kick baby Jacob. The only person that saw this was Nick. And at this point, he had been blaming Eric for all of these unexplained injuries that baby Jacob had. So after all of this happened, Brenda decided to send Eric to go live in California with his father. However, even with Eric out of the picture, the injuries to baby Jacob did not stop. Okay, more in part 2.
So he was capping. It was him the whole time, blaming it on that freaking 6-year-old. And the mom believed. Well, we all know we gotta find a part 2, but it has to be justice, man. How your old family friend doing that too? Can't trust nobody.
Things you've never seen before. NASCAR
All
cars
of
can
them Christmas
actually go
gifts.
this fast. Here's a video x-ray of a dog devouring its food. And this is what the inside of a violin looks like. It looks like a one-bedroom apartment in New York. Believe it or not, but right now you're looking at 1 million colors. In this picture, the color of each pixel is slightly different. This picture hasn't been photoshopped in any way. It's actually just the darkest material in the world. Before I tell you what it's called, I just found a way to make a bunch of new friends by live streaming with 0 requirements. So if you want to try live streaming, just press right here. Known as Vanna Black, this substance absorbs nearly all the light that strikes it. And when it's painted on a 3D object, it makes it look completely fake because of how dark it is.
Let's talk about
Whoa.
the disappearance of 6-year-old Katie Jacobs and how this
Insane.
doll and a necklace helped solve her case. Katie had gone to the Potomac Mills Mall in Virginia with her family. At one point, she had gone off with her Aunt Susan and her cousin Jeremy to go play in the arcade. However, her Aunt Susan said that she needed to go engrave a lighter for her husband because his birthday was just around the corner, so she left Katie and Jeremy alone. Jeremy says that he was playing a video game while Katie was standing next to him and that she actually wanted to leave to go get some ice cream. So he finished up his game, and when he looked back to where Katie was standing, she was gone. He went to go tell his parents, and his mom called the police and reported her niece as missing. The police and the FBI arrived at the scene and immediately put the mall on lockdown. They began handing out flyers with Katie's face on them and were asking the crowd if anyone had seen her. However, no one in the mall had seen Katie. Now, a week earlier, a young girl named Jessica Davis had been abducted from a mall and found dead 3 days later. The FBI was worried that this might be the same offender, so they began to look through the surveillance footage at the mall to see if they could retrace Katie's last steps. They spot her leaving the arcade, and you can see her looking over at someone that's standing next to her, possibly walking alongside her, but they can't make out who this person is. And 7 seconds later, Katie disappears. There's no other footage of Katie leaving the mall, so they believe that she and her abductor are still inside. A canine dog tracks Katie's scent and leads police to a trash can. Inside the trash can, they found Katie's necklace. The clasp was broken, and it appeared as if someone had ripped this necklace from Katie's neck. With this information, the FBI no longer believes that Katie's abduction is related to Jessica Davis. This seems personal, and whoever ripped the necklace from Katie's neck did it with rage. Since they now believe that this is a family abduction, FBI agent Reed and Morgan head over to Katie's house to see if they can find any clues. There, they find this doll in Katie's room. They believe that this doll represents how Katie feels. She feels dirty and ugly. And Agent Reed and Morgan believe they know why. So back at the mall, FBI agents ask Katie's mom how she got this necklace. And she says that Katie just found it at school one day. Now, this necklace was very expensive, so there's no way that Katie just randomly found this at school. So why did she lie to her mom about it? This is when the FBI begins to get suspicious of Katie's family, so they interrogate Katie's Aunt Susan and her Uncle Richard separately. During his interrogation, Uncle Richard actually reveals that he hasn't smoked in over a month. Why did his wife Susan say that she left Katie and Jeremy alone to go engrave a lighter for him, if he hadn't even smoked in over a month? When the FBI confronts Susan with this, she breaks down. She reveals that her husband Richard has been abusing Katie and that he was the one that gave her the necklace to keep quiet. Susan knew about the abuse, and instead of helping her niece, she decided to abduct Katie and get rid of her. She figured that if Katie was gone, then her husband would go back to loving her. Ends up telling the police where she hid Katie, and thankfully she was found alive and reunited with her family. Both Richard and Susan were arrested. Thankfully, this is a fictional story from the show Criminal Minds. If you want to watch the FBI's Behavior Analysis Unit catch more bad guys and solve more cases, you can watch Criminal Minds on Hulu.
Dirty facts about history that they'll never teach you in school. Part 8.
Talk about it.
Pocahontas was 12 years old. She would entertain white colonists by doing cartwheels without wearing any clothes. This is actually one of the few things we know about her that's indisputable thanks to so many written accounts. From the 40s to the 70s, many Ivy League colleges, including Yale, Harvard, and Princeton, required all incoming freshmen to have nude photos taken of them. Administrators claimed it was to gauge the rate of diseases like rickets and scoliosis, but many believe the true reason behind them was much creepier. Most of the photos have since been destroyed, but thousands still remain in the Smithsonian's possession. In 1940, Walt Disney hired 11 little people to dress up as Pinocchio and wave to people at the movie's premiere. He left them on a theater balcony with enough food and wine for the day, but there was no way for them to get down. By late afternoon, they had all taken off their thick, sweaty costumes and were naked, drunk, and swearing at innocent parents and their children.
Hey man,
This father's reaction after being confronted of trying to force his daughters, who are now deceased, to marry older men is absolutely disgusting. If you want to watch the prison interview plus learn the details of the story, head over to my YouTube channel. It's all there.
Wanted the girls to be wed in arranged marriages in Egypt, right?
As arranged marriage now, this is big story because some people, they don't know what that means. They think we force a girl to marry the man we like, which is wrong.
Amina later wrote about her fears that you intended to, and these are her words, quote, sell them to the highest bidder, to an older man that she did not love in a land that she said she hated.
Okay.
What do you think about
Very
it?
funny. Very funny, really. I'm laughing. Do you see me? I laugh. It's very funny.
Crazy history
No.
we're never taught in school. When Al Capone reached prison, he was diagnosed with neurosyphilis and eventually paroled early due to his limited mental capabilities. Only 3 objects have ever been found in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Pieces of wood, a copper hook, and a ball made of diorite, all discovered in 1872. Chang and Eng Bunker were conjoined twins who were brought to America at 18 years old to perform in a freak show. They escaped and settled in North Carolina, becoming U.S. citizens, owning slaves, marrying sisters, and producing 21 children together. 3 men escaped Alcatraz in a raft made of raincoats, and the FBI never found them. One man in the Middle Ages wrote a book claiming that witches were stealing men's private parts and keeping them as pets, ultimately leading to the European witch trials. There used to be a branch of the Nile River that ran right by the Great Pyramids. This is charcoal graffiti of gladiators drawn by children that was discovered in Pompeii.
You have to hear
More
this.
you know.
A Missouri man who lives inside of a cemetery actually saw the Grim Reaper. He said that he was in his house
It's
watching
me!
TV at about 3 o'clock in the morning when he heard a huge crash outside.
Oh my
Soon
gosh.
after he heard sirens and
Yeah, I decided to step out and see what was happening. I walked
When
through
he
the
got
graveyard like a
outside, he saw
dumbass.
cop cars,
Damn it, man.
firefighters, and an ambulance arriving. He walked through the
I wish you
cemetery
would've tagged
to
me in
get a
this
better
shit.
view of what was going on. As he looked down from the top of the hill, he saw that it was a horrific car accident, a head-on collision between 2 cars, during which one of the drivers actually died at the scene.
You got it closer
After
to
watching
exactly what I
police
said
and
than the other
paramedics
guy,
to
but
the
you left out
road,
the part where I
decided
scared
to
the
start
cop.
heading home. But then, all of the sudden,
And
he
when
heard
I
something
jumped in
drop
down with
down
Amber,
from the tree beside
pulled the
him.
covers
He
up over
turned
my
around
head.
to see what it was, and standing right in front of him was a strange, gray, faceless humanoid figure. His heart jumped up into his throat and he abruptly beelined it back home. He continued to hear this creature
Oh, he looked
behind
like
him, but he never
sort of
looked back.
dumbass.
He got home and immediately locked the doors.
He just debunked the story, man. Like I said, watching these videos together with you guys, Seekers, you always gotta do your own research, man. He just debunked it to us in real time. So, guess that story wasn't true. It's an edit, man. Tell me if y'all expert level at spotting out the edits. I know I can't be the only one.
Let's talk about one of the most disturbing final bosses in video game history. God from Silent Hill 3. The objective of the antagonist in Silent Hill 3 is to birth the new god that Heather Mason is carrying inside of her. In fact, every time you die in the game, the demon behind me named Valtiel revives Heather. They want this new god to be born no matter what the cost. By the end of the game, Heather ends up getting rid of the god inside of her. But before she can deal the final blow, the main antagonist, Claudia here, ends up devouring the god right in front of her, trying to complete the ritual. Except the ritual fails big time. The god is born prematurely, misshapen, and only half-formed, which gives Heather the perfect opportunity to finish it off for good. Fun fact, the face that Valtiel gives God is supposed to look like Alessa Gillespie.
Whoa. I never knew that. That happened
A
in
mother
that game.
does the most unthinkable act to her young children. Lamora Williams will spend the rest of her life in prison after she knowingly and intentionally killed her 2 toddler sons by placing them in an oven and turning it on. She was convicted of 14 charges, including murder, in the October 2017 deaths of her sons Kayonte Penn, 2, and 1-year-old Jakarta Penn. Williams contacted police claiming she found her children dead in her Atlanta apartment. Williams reported a stove on Jakarta's head and Kayonte on the floor with severe injuries. Despite Williams' claim that a caregiver was responsible, investigators concluded she had placed the children in the oven the night before. The kids' father, Jamil Penn, called the scene as being like a real horror movie. He claimed Williams' video called him after the killing, showing his motionless children on the ground. Williams was said to have suffered from a long history of mental illness that was brought on by her father's passing when she was 19 and being a single mother of 4.
After her conviction, Williams was quickly sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 35 years.
Authorities have stopped investigating the case of a brazen thief who targeted a Japanese nursery school, even though the perpetrator is still on the loose. The crime spree began a few weeks ago when staff arrived to find more than a dozen indoor shoes missing from the cubbies where staff and students change into them before entering the main part of the building, as is customary in Japanese schools. The next day, even more shoes went missing, leading authorities to set up surveillance cameras around the school. And that's when they caught the unexpected culprit in action. Security footage revealed this weasel specifically selecting white canvas shoes, possibly because they were the lightest to carry, and then running off with them into the night. While weasels are known for collecting soft materials to build cozy nests for themselves and their families, this particular shoe enthusiast showed impeccable taste, making off with 22 canvas shoes in total. Although the stolen shoes were never recovered, the children were delighted to learn that their missing footwear might be helping to keep a wild friend warm and comfortable. These days, the cubbies are protected by netting overnight, but the little weasel's shoe shopping spree has become a favorite story at the school. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
This is why you should never run a marathon without changing your shoes or socks at least once. Because if you don't, you're gonna end up like this guy who ran 100 miles without changing a single time. Oh! The pinkies. Oh, how do you believe? Dude.
And then committing.
Change your socks, man. That's what we all took from this that clip, bro. You should change it anyway, but definitely, bro. You saw this man in 4K, man. He ran a marathon too, wasn't changing the shot. Guess you can stop, man. Or have something ready, bro. That's insane.
The alleged crime. You see her loading up her car after shopping. This all happened.
So that lifestyle influencer stole more than $500 worth of stuff from Target. She recorded everything and then went home and posted a haul. It was said that she was scanning fake barcodes, so instead of scanning the items in her cart, she replaced them with cheaper items and scanned those instead. And I mean, we've all seen videos of people shoplifting at Target, Walmart, and all that, but the reason why this video went so viral is because not only did she steal all these items, but she was recording herself stealing, and then she went home, she did a haul, and she also did a day in the life with all the items that she stole. And the only reason she even got caught was because the footage from Target was posted on social media in hopes that someone can recognize her, and one of her followers were like, I follow this influencer on TikTok and Instagram. So they reached out, and that's how they caught her. They were able to match the footage of her stealing at Target with the footage that she took to post on her TikTok, showing off everything that she stole on that day. Now, another reason why this went so viral is because people are questioning how authentic is everything that we see on social media. You know, you see this woman who has this gorgeous house, beautiful furniture, everything just seems to be put together perfectly. And little did you know, she was actually stealing this entire time. This creator has gone back to posting but has turned off all her comments, and it just makes me wonder, how are you able to risk your life, your record, you know, your family, just to have this image on social media that is completely false?
Part 7.
It's a farce, bro. I've said it before, I'll say it again, man. Social media people, they want you to see things that they control. So you don't really know what's going on behind the picture, man. It's like sleight of hand. It's all a trick. Social media, bro. People seekers, man. Wake up.
79 of some of the creepiest submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This is a gigantic dragon that is in water in Efteling again. His name is Joris de Draak, which loosely translates to George and the Dragon. I don't know why. This is just the dragon. Where the hell is George? Dutch really makes no sense sometimes. But yeah, this gigantic animatronic is sitting in like this bog in like this swamp. Someone come get Donkey and come get his girlfriend out of here. If you don't like Shrek, I don't like you. Also, bro's neck looks like a Christmas tree. Here's another terrifying photo of it. Can you imagine falling in this dirty water with this gigantic moving dragon that spits fire?
I couldn't. Also, you actually see it when you're on a roller coaster. So you can either see it when you're walking on the path or if you're on a roller coaster and you go right past it. I'd be screaming for 2 reasons. The video I have doesn't show it in the actual water, but it shows it breathing fire, and it is very creepy the way it moves. So let me know how you would feel if you were to fall in the water or even just see this thing normally. I wouldn't like it at all.
Me either. It's not really affecting me though. They said some people was creeped out by it. I don't think it really got to me. It's still scary though. That's the edit, man. Come on. We see through that.
There is something, though, that I have to tell you that I have not told you throughout this entire documentary. There's a reason why Nico knows so much about human sacrifice and the power of human blood. I'm gonna let Nico explain all this to you himself.
So I went there and he opened the door. I stepped inside, he closed the door. That's when I pulled out the handgun and I shot him in the face. He fell down and I shot him in a few other times in the skull. And it lasted 15 minutes more or less before he actually died because they were small caliber bullets.
That's right. Nico is one of the most famous convicted murderers in all of France, nicknamed the Vampire of Paris because he used to consume human flesh and drink human blood.
I'm Nico Clo, and I was born 52 years ago in Cameroon in Africa. My father...
Liam's case reminds me of Elisa Lam. There was an update showing the surveillance footage. This footage gives off a very strange and eerie vibe, and people are comparing it to Elisa Lam. His behavior in the footage seems very odd and confusing, similarly to what happened at the Cecil Hotel. In both, something feels very off and unexplained. Also, of course, I'm not trying to make light of any tragedies, like this is really sad, I'm just talking about what's going on. The Cecil Hotel is infamous for its history of unexplained death, criminal activity, eerie events, and this viral footage of Elisa Lam in the elevator before her mysterious death. It's become a symbol for conspiracies and urban legends and just mystery. The surveillance footage in both cases are leaving people wondering what happened before and after the cameras caught the moment, because in both, everybody's saying something is off. Cecil Hotel is famous for all of the history of creepy and mysterious things happening there, and that's why people are really curious about it. In the same way, when a celebrity like Liam starts acting strangely, it catches a lot of people's attention. Do you think something deeper is going on? Hit the plus for more conspiracies. It really helps when you interact.
When I tell
What's
you
going
this
on with
story,
Cecil
the
Hotel?
Muslim subreddit kept me up all night. First of all, posted anonymously, but it's from a child psychiatrist living out in New York City. Now, he claimed he had an experience in the middle of the night when he woke up. He said he found a child scratching at his apartment window with bloodied fingers, which, as unnerving as it is, he had chalked it up as maybe some kind of creepy anomaly. However, the following night when he woke up in his bedroom, he sensed some kind of a presence in the room. When he turned over in his bed, he came face to face with the same boy who was staring at him from the edge of his bed. So somehow this boy had broken into the apartment, and he eventually led the psychiatrist to his home in the city, which happened to be a foster home. And as it turns out, he had been returned from a number of foster families who all thought there was something wrong with him. Eerie coincidence, the next day this psychiatrist finds out he is appointed to the boy as his patient. It was like this child was stalking the guy. And if you gotta know what happens next, this is the opening plot for Before, now streaming on Apple TV.
Stillwater. I can't believe I've been making these videos for almost 5 months, and I have not talked about the terror of Stillwater. By the way, I am very sick right now, so if I sound like a frog, that's why. Stillwater is one of the most terrifying things, especially to me, but in general, it is very, very dangerous and filled with millions of microorganisms, including brain-eating parasites. You don't want to ever fall in this. Oh, and by the way, Those stairs being under the water like that for I don't even know how long, if you were to go on those stairs, they would immediately break with the weight of your body, and you would crash down and be in that water with all of that underwater stuff. Underwater mechanics, underwater stairs, no thank you. Who wants to go in the Stillwater Ussie? Not me. This is an abandoned pool that I found a picture of. Look at all the lovely infectious diseases just chilling on top like that. Here's some more images to music. How do you feel about all these?
Not I. I will not be going to brain eating amoeba. They need to freaking put like a warning sign or the
when I tell you this story on the No Sleep subreddit kept me up all night. First of all, posted anonymously, but it's from a child psychiatrist living out in New York City. Now, he claimed he had an experience in the middle of the night when he woke up. He said he found a child scratching at his apartment window with bloodied fingers, which, as unnerving as it is, he had chalked it up as maybe some kind of creepy anomaly. However, the following night when he woke up in his bedroom, he sensed some kind of a presence in the room. When he turned over in his bed, he came face to face with the same boy who was staring at him from the edge of his bed. So somehow this boy had broken into the apartment, and he eventually led the psychiatrist to his home in the city, which happened to be a foster home. And as it turns out, he had been returned from a number of foster families who all thought there was something wrong with him. Eerie coincidence, the next day this psychiatrist finds out he is appointed to the boy as his patient. It was like this child was stalking the guy. And if you gotta know what happens next, this is the opening plot for Before, now streaming on Apple TV.
Should I check that out?
Dangerous man on earth dubbed as the White Masked Man. There is some creepy ass stuff going on in Mexico at the moment. You may have seen this video a long time ago. Now you probably remember at the start of the year and last year when we had the whole urban legend to talk about the Serbian dancing lady. This is quite similar, but there's something really creepy about it. But this guy has actually been in the headlines for quite some time when he broke into the news back in 2023. Now this white man is often spotted around the streets of Mexico, just walking around, never wearing anything different. He lurks around and has what looks like blood coming from his mouth non-stop. Now you would think this is just a Halloween costume, but he has been wearing this every single day for nearly 2 years now. One night, apparently a young girl was just doing a jog through her town in the evening. She spotted this guy on the other side of the road just stood there, waving, staring at her. As far as we know, he hasn't actually committed any crimes, but we actually don't know. And many people are saying he's taking a lot of inspiration from the Terrifier. Was it just a guy who is cosplaying, or is it something a lot more disturbing? And what the hell is bro eating?
Yeah, what was in bro's mouth, man? I do not know. It looked like he was foaming at the damn mouth. And it did seem like he looked like Art the Clown. Don't let those other eggs get to his head, man. That's an edit.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. This wanted fugitive from an Ohio case 20 years ago was found working as a police officer. The New Zealand airport just put a 3-minute time limit on all goodbye hugs. A couple made guests buy $300 tickets to attend their wedding. This woman ran over her boyfriend while going to couples therapy. A family was told that their daughter had checked out of a hospital, but in reality she had passed away. An Alaska Airlines flight was turned around after the pilot admitted that he was not certified to land the plane. NAI model changed its own code in order to give itself more time. A 3D printed community in Texas is almost finished. A man threatened a Burger King worker after not taking drugs as payment and got 143 years in prison. A Chipotle employee says that their boss chased him out with a gun for not taking out the trash. Utility companies in Louisiana want state regulators to allow them to fine customers for lost profits from energy efficiency initiatives.
That doesn't even make sense.
Were the parents of Kelly Marvera in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. One night a house fire broke out and authorities told the parents that their 10-day-old baby Delimar had perished in the fire. And it wasn't until 6 years later that Luce was at a birthday party and saw a little girl named Aaliyah and instantly had a gut feeling that it was actually her child. Luce grabbed a strand of the girl's hair and sent it off to the police for DNA testing, which later
confirmed that it was her daughter Delimar. Caroline Correa, who was a distant friend of a family member, was charged and found guilty of kidnapping and arson. She was living with Delimar just 15 miles away in New Jersey. Correa was sentenced to life in prison. Delimar was returned to her real family and now at 26 years old is speaking out in a 3-part documentary to explain what life was like coping with a brand new family.
Someone made a...
Imagine, man, you thinking your daughter, your child is going through that pain and going at a random birthday party, having a gut feeling and finding out that, bro, one of your friends took your child. I can't even imagine what that's like, man. This world, some bizarre things goes on.
Punch-Out style horror game, and it's absolutely free. Let's talk about Porkbound. This is one of the strangest horror games I've played all year, but it actually works. And it really is like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out as a horror game. You play as a young boxer named Aaron who works on his family's pig farm. And not only is he dealing with bullies like here, he's dealing with the death of his brother. But one night, the bullies actually show up to the pig farm to further taunt Aaron. And then everything starts to go wrong. What is happening to the pigs, and why do they look like this? What follows is a series of Punch-Out style boss fights with more and more disturbing looking pig-like creatures. And when I say Punch-Out, I really do mean Punch-Out. The game plays basically exactly the same way, but as you're beating the bosses, there's a greater story to uncover. Now, I do have a full playthrough of this game on my channel if you're interested, so I don't want to spoil the story here, but the game is also free, so I definitely encourage you to check it out for yourself.
Punch-Out?
Talking about the possible serial killer in Grand Junction, Colorado, let me tell you about one of their most infamous murder cases. The Blaggs were a picture-perfect family of born-again Christians until November 13th, 2001, when Michael came home to a pool of blood. His wife Jennifer and 6-year-old daughter Abby missing. The back door was left open, Jennifer's purse was spilled out on the floor, and her jewelry was missing. But when authorities looked at the crime scene, something was off. If a stranger had broken into their home, why would they leave items of value behind, like guns and cash? And why would they move the bodies in Jennifer's van and return it to the family's garage? In May the following year, investigators start digging through the Mesa County landfill. And after removing 3,000 tons of trash, they find the mummified remains of Jennifer Blagg, wrapped in a tent and surrounded by trash from her husband's workplace. Michael was convicted for only his wife's murder in 2004, but 13 years later he got a second shot at freedom. It turns out a juror lied on her questionnaire about being a victim of DV. In 2018 he got the same result, life in prison without the possibility of parole. And despite being convicted twice, he refuses to reveal the location of his 6-year-old daughter Abby. It's believed her remains are still...
Disgusting, man. Truly. Be your own blood. Heartbreaking story. That's sad, man. The expert level.
DNA test, which helped solve a cold case and put her grandmother in jail. In June of 1997, the remains of a deceased infant were found inside a campground pit toilet at the Garnett Lake Campground in Michigan. There was a toilet that needed to be cleaned by an employee, so they used a suction hose to try and clean it. That's when they realized that something had been flushed down that was causing it to be clogged, and it was a newborn baby. An autopsy was done on that baby girl, and it revealed that she was full term, so she was around 36 to 42 weeks. They had no identity for the victim, so they named her baby Garnett. Once the local community had heard about this case, they were looking for answers because they had no idea who could have done this. Unfortunately, this case became a cold case, and they would not find answers until 25 years later. This girl on TikTok named Jenna made a Get Ready With Me video talking about how she had purchased a Ancestry DNA kit. She spat in the tube, sent it off, and got her results. And about a year later, in 2022, a police officer called her and told her that they had reopened a case from about 25 years ago and that her DNA was a direct match to the victim in the case. Police end up taking a sample of Jenna's mom's DNA. With that and Jenna's DNA, they are finally able to solve the case of baby Garnett. With the information now that police had, it revealed that baby Garnett was the sibling of Jenna's mom and also the deceased aunt of Jenna. Both Jenna and her mom were aware of this case because it would be rare for someone in the local community not to know about it, and I'm sure that they were very shocked to find out that they were actually related to the victim in the case. In July of 2022, Jenna's grandmother, Nancy Gerwatowski, would be arrested. She would be charged with murder, involuntary manslaughter, and concealing the death of an individual. The state alleges that Nancy had delivered the baby at her home and did not seek any kind of medical intervention to try and save the baby. Instead, she hid the baby in an outhouse in the campground. In October of 2023, Nancy was released on a bond, but she had to stay home and wear a GPS tracking device. In May of this year, it was revealed that Nancy would stand trial for the case. Nancy is expected to appear for a motion hearing in court on December 12th, and I'm sure we will get some more information soon. This is all the information that is out there right now. I'm going to tag Jenna's account in my caption so you can go check out her video so you can hear the story in her own words. And remember to go get those DNA test kits.
What if I told you that the Church of England banned Christmas in 1647? Well, you can't spell Santa without Satan. So, is Santa Claus really Satan, the devil in disguise? Think about it. Do you really believe people just made up a story about a 350-pound man stuffing himself down your chimney? No. The World Book Encyclopedia admits that this concept originated from the Norse legend of Hertha, a so-called goddess who would appear in fireplaces to bring good luck to the home. A devilish spirit could easily pass through a chimney and a fireplace, right? And it doesn't stop there. Druid homeowners would leave treats, milk, and pastries to appease this god who came down their chimneys. Sound familiar? That's right, it's all about worship. Even today, many religions leave milk and food in front of their idols. Now let's talk about stockings, leaving them out for Santa. This tradition is eerily similar to witchcraft practices, where socks or personal items are used in spells to target the victim. Just like how, as kids, we're told to leave teeth out for the tooth fairy. It's the same trap. So, yes, Santa will leave you some great gifts in your stockings, for sure. Oh, and here's the kicker. The word Santa is a true anagram of Satan. Yet many people believe Santa Claus is based on a priest named Saint Nicholas. But guess what? That priest never even existed. The Second Vatican Council in the 1970s openly admitted it was all a fabrication. And don't forget, people used to call the devil Old Nick. They're rubbing it right in your face. Some speculate this nickname comes from German and Scandinavian words, starting with Nick, which were used for dangerous supernatural creatures. So, who's really coming down your chimney this Christmas? Follow my backup account and leave a comment for part 2, because there's more to this than meets the eye. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
Oh, he's really getting me at the end, man. But I mean, I said he was freaking blowing reality wide open. I was saying like how some of that stuff wasn't even real and the worship. They said it was a joke though, so I don't know, man. Maybe he said that just to not to upset some people, but I think he was believing what he was saying. What do you guys think, man? Should I find a part 2 for you, man? For the seekers? I'll get it. That's it, man, for this video for you guys today, man. Tell me down below, well, comment down below if you guys enjoyed this video. If you learned anything new, leave a thumbs up on this video. Follow me on my social medias, man. Thank you for seeking the truth with me. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.